This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. Although I normally don't have a voiced spoiler warning, I think it's worthy for this episode because there's many big plot points revealed in it, and I do not want that to be ruined. So I'm giving a very specific warning about spoilers for this episode, and I'll return just to the Vader breathing in next week's episode, unless it's a very major episode also. Ahsoka Tano threatens Morgan Elsbeth, the magistrate of Keldon, to give her information that she needs and to free the village that she has taken over, and she has a day to decide where she will return. Jaren lands on Trask and goes to Keldon, where Magistrate Elsbeth wants to hire Jaren to kill Ahsoka for a Beskar staff. Jaren gives her the impression that he is going to kill Ahsoka and leaves to find her. He confronts her in the woods, where they fight for a minute, but Jaren is quickly able to explain why he's here and shows Ahsoka the child. Ahsoka and the child communicate through the Force, where it is revealed that his name is Grogu, and he was originally trained at the Jedi Temple before he was hidden away by an unknown person after Order 66 and the Rise of the Empire. After a brief training session, Ahsoka tells Jaren she cannot train Grogu because of his deep emotional connection to Jaren. This is because she knows that emotional attachments could even ruin the best of the Jedi. Jaren tries to cut a deal with Ahsoka. He will help her free the town in exchange for her training Grogu. Ahsoka then enters the town and makes it seem like she's killed Jaren, and she finally asks one last time for this to end peacefully. Elsbeth refuses, and the battle begins. Ahsoka takes on most of her men, while Jaren rescues captive villagers. Ahsoka goes after Elsbeth, and Ahsoka and Elsbeth duel as Jaren stands off with her second-in-command, who Jaren easily kills. Ahsoka defeats Elsbeth and demands to know the location of Grand Admiral Thrawn. With this town now free, Jaren tries one last time to get Ahsoka to train Grogu. Ahsoka still refuses and sends him to Tython, where the child will be able to choose his own path after going to a temple, where he could call out on the Force and a Jedi may answer. Honestly, I have no idea where to begin. This was an amazing episode of The Mandalorian, and so much was revealed in this, like I said in my spoiler warning at the beginning. So, let's get into it. First off, Ahsoka was amazing this episode. My only real problem with her was it just took me a few minutes to get used to the voice, since I'm so used to Ashley Eckstein voicing the character, and it was just very weird to hear someone else doing it. But after hearing her for a few minutes talk, I was able to get into it, and it improved everything. I think she looks great and translated very well from what she looked like when she was animated to modern times in live action. And it's impressive that she's one of the few characters to translate from animation to live action. I loved how she referenced Anakin Skywalker turning into Darth Vader and keeping it very vague so she doesn't ruin her master's former reputation, even though it's going to happen anyway in the book Star Wars Bloodlines, unless the timeline has changed. Also, the mentioning of Yoda was great, with how much respect she has for him, and there's also interestingly revealed that Ahsoka never met Yaddle, since she said she only met one of this species before in her lifetime, and that was Yoda. Talking about Grogu for a minute, I think it's great that he has a name now. I feel like this is something inspired by George Lucas, but I don't know exactly how. I just have a feeling. When I first saw it, I thought that it was a reference to the original name that Yoda was given, but I checked to see that, and the name originally given to Yoda would have been Minch. So I was wrong. It was just something I was thinking of. It's great that Grogu has Jedi training. Also now, the argument can stop of people saying, are you fine with a child being able to use all these Force abilities without having any training? And you're not fine with Rey having it, since now it's confirmed that he has training from Jedi. Theorizing on who could have rescued Grogu, I have a few different ideas. I don't think that it's Yoda or Obi-Wan, because I think that it's likely was saved before the temple was attacked. It could be someone like Mace Windu who survived, but since that's not confirmed, I don't know about that. I think the most likely one could be Yaddle, and that goes into another interesting theory that I had, and Star Wars theory had the same ideas of me, that Yoda and Yaddle had Grogu, but not against Jedi Code, and actually a very special exception that Ki-Adi-Mundi also did, because they were part of a dying race that was going extinct, so they had to reproduce as much as possible to keep the species going, and that's something the Jedi Order will allow for an attachment to have if it benefits a species that is going extinct. So I think that the scarcity of the Yoda species could cause Yoda and Yaddle to have had the child, Grogu, and that would have been against Jedi Code. And then, of course, I think Yaddle likely saved the child, possibly was even taking care of it off screen so no one knew of it. And that's where she's been since episode 1 to the time a little bit after Order 66. I think she likely had to separate from Grogu, and she eventually died and wasn't able to retrieve him after everything ended in episode 6, Return of the Jedi. And the Imperials have been hunting for Grogu ever since. If any Jedi comes looking for Grogu, it would likely be Luke Skywalker, since he's one of the few Jedi we still know lives at the time. But who knows, it could be anyone. Here's a thought I have. I don't even know if I think this is true. I feel like it's really unlikely. It's just something that's in the back of my mind that I want to mention. I think there's a small chance that on the rock, the child will lose his powers in connection to the Force, which may be Ahsoka's goal because she does not want another Vader to be born. But I don't fully back that theory, and it's just some small little suspicion I have at the back of my mind that I don't really trust, but just want to find out there in case I'm right. Like I said 2 weeks ago, I think, that she is the third character to translate from animation to live action, and they all did extremely well, with the first two being Saw Gerrera in Rogue One and Bo-Katan earlier this season in The Mandalorian. And it seems like the fourth character to translate from animation to live action will be Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's on a way more interesting journey than Ahsoka. In Bo-Katan, from his origins, he went from the Legends Thrawn trilogy to Star Wars Rebels to his own books, and now it seems he may be coming to live action, or will be in the Rebels sequel series, or something similar to that. Personally, the way I want Thrawn to be introduced, which I'm going to do a full video on, I'm going to only give a brief summary here, is to take episodes 7, 8, and 9 currently, and make them episodes 10, 11, and 12, and then have episodes 7, 8, and 9 focus on a new version of the Thrawn trilogy, with it focusing on Luke, Leia, Han, Ahsoka, Sabine, Rex, because why not, and then Ezra unless he is dead. Again, I'm not going to go over all this right now. I'll go over it in a later video, because I don't think I have the appropriate amount of time right now to tell what I would do and what I want from this trilogy, but I'll release that video soon. Whether that is right or not about a trilogy coming out from that, I think it's like 90% confirmed that Thrawn is behind Moff Gideon, with an interview from the actor that I heard about through multiple videos saying that there may be someone behind him, and that seems almost like it's going to be Thrawn, because Thrawn seems like too big of a name to drop with nothing happening to it. Also, I was right about the title for this episode. I had a feeling like it was going to be The Jedi, which I predicted in the Bo-Katan episode, I think. I also gave a few other alternate suggestions, but the one I believe in the most was the Jedi, and it seems like I was right. I have one last interesting theory about the future of the show. I think that the dark saber has a very special ability that no other lightsaber has. As you can see in this episode, Beskar could block a lightsaber blade, but I think that the dark saber houses a kyber crystal that is fused with Beskar that could cut through the metal, and that is why the blade is black. I also agree with the theory that this takes place before the final scene in Star Wars Rebels, and Ahsoka has not yet met up with Sabine to find Ezra, and that will happen shortly after, if not immediately after this episode ends. I also like that HK droids are now canon, but I feel like they were taken out a little too easily. Overall, this is my favorite episode of the show, and I loved it so much. It was a great episode, and I think that I just can't stop saying good stuff about it. There was very few flaws, and it was the first episode of Mandalorian I've ever stayed up to watch at the time it airs, which is at 2 o'clock in the morning in my time. Dave Filoni did an amazing job with this episode, and I love the episode even more because of it. It's funny how many times they reference the Clone Wars in this episode, especially considering Filoni directed it. And one final interesting fact is that Filoni directs episode 5 of every season so far. I wonder if that's reference to him loving Empire Strikes Back as a movie, or if it's just a coincidence. I honestly can't wait for the rest of the season to finish up, and I'm really surprised that there are only 3 episodes left, and really wish that there was more, and wonder what kind of cliffhanger they'll be left on at the end of the season. Will we see Luke? Will Moff Gideon capture Grogu? Will Grogu die? And will Jaren and Grogu part for the final time? Who knows what will happen, but I can't wait to see. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories, and may the Force be with you.